All right. We are here with my good friend. Does everybody call you Bart, or is that just us?
Everybody calls me Bart. My mom calls me James. So don't use James. But other than that, yeah, Bart. Bart works, brother.
Right, so what do they got you drinking over there?
You know what? Thank you. A nice Ballast Point. Let's do this.
What is it?
And
I'm not a beer guy.
It's a Ballast Point Fathom Indian Pale Ale.
All right.
Ballast Point, we salute you.
Get you nice and toasty, huh?
That's right. Salute to your amazing production crew, JC.
Oh yeah, they're good dudes. Well, cool. Bartoloni, for those that don't know, Bart and I go way back. In fact, Bart was our CMT level 2 teacher. This is like back in 06, 07. Were you level 3?
3.
Was it level 2 and 3 or just 3?
Just 3. Just 3.
And so Paul Sienna was also in our class. He's the chief strategist, director of research at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. So he kills
Greg
it.
Bender. Greg Bender was there. Remember Ben's?
Bender, yep, at Bloomberg, yep.
That was quite a crew.
That was.
JC, that was 15 years ago. What? What?
That's crazy. I remember we were at Bloomberg once, and we used to go through these meetings down like in the basement of Bloomberg. Remember? And they used to have they used to be called different countries. It was like Germany, London. That's how they named the different rooms down in Bloomberg. So anyway, we'd go down there, and then we were talking charts, and then we were walking out because we were done. I think we were gonna go get beers or something. And we were in the hallway at Bloomberg, and you look up, and we're all like, "What are you looking at?" He's like, Bart's like, and it's like, what is this guy talking about? He's like, Mercury. You got to watch Mercury tonight, because if it moves, we got to be short in S&Ps or something like that. And everybody's like, what is this guy talking about?
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. It is. And our subject's crazy. This is like, I was thinking about it last night, JC. This is the hardest question in all of finance, right? So I'm not worthy to answer it, but I'll try with you. So
listen, if there's anybody that can answer this question, I mean, listen, if I'll tell you what, like if we weren't doing this live stream, I mean, the fact that we're doing this live stream is to that if I'm going to have this conversation, I want to have it with you, because we use these extension levels. We use these retracement levels. I promise you from the bottom of my heart how much they help me. You guys who have been following for years have seen me use these levels time and time again. If I look through 5,000 charts a week, I'm not going to waste my time adding these levels if it didn't really add a lot of value, and it does. And then when I get asked, I'm just like, I've come to the conclusion that humans, we're just not smart enough to figure it out, but we see it in nature, we see it in our DNA, we see it in weather patterns, certainly in the marketplace. It's just part of nature, and I just chalk it up to that, and I use it to help me make money in cryptocurrencies or stocks or interest rates or whatever it is. It's a great tool. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Can you explain to me, just like, where do we even start? Why is it? Is it a vibrations thing? Like, what's going on, man?
So first off, this is a discussion where I don't know, right? I think. And so, when I started out my journey, which there's never a destination in what we're doing, right? It's a journey. I just had something inherently telling me that the market is stopping at a certain area or level or number for a reason. And for me, I was a big currency trader. I still am. But back when I first started cutting my teeth, to think that the world's, the volume on the currencies, what is it? Every stock market, bond market, futures market, commodities market would have to operate continuously for 90 days to equal 1 day of liquidity on the foreign exchange market, right? So it's huge. Yards and yards and yards of money are being thrown around in all these different currencies. And to put let's say a retracement grid, a basic retracement grid 15 years ago, right? And the market would flip on a dime once it hits one of these levels. I was like, okay, why is that happening? So I knew it necessarily wasn't a math thing that I needed to go study, but I needed to go start studying natural law, right? And so as you start diving into the why behind some of these levels, you need to make some assumptions. And so the people who are watching right now or might watch the archive version, there's a certain point where you got to jump off the cliff, right? And quite frankly, I think it's you and I, Thelma and Louise, and going over the Cadillac, right? You can drive, I don't care, right? But at a certain point, you got to take it like you just said. I don't know, it helps me, and I trust it, right? So whoever is going to use these type of tactics in the market has to make them become theirs. And they might not need to do anything else than say, okay, I like 0.618 price projections. I like 0.618 retracements, or I like a 1.618 extension, and I don't care. And then there's other people who are like,
That's
I
me.
need
Is
to
that me?
understand.
Is that me?
I think you're in between. I think you're in between, right? And quite frankly, I would stay at that level, because the deeper you go down,
No, but
the deeper
Bart,
you,
but I get asked all the time, and I get asked by
yeah,
smart people, and then some people are like,
yeah,
I can't wrap my head around it, so I don't use it. Me, I'm
yeah.
like, I can't wrap my head around it, but I use it because it helps me, you know. So
That's
like,
right.
I don't need to. I'm good, you know. I don't need to know why, but I get asked so many times. So if I'm going to ask anybody, I'm going to bring you onto our Twitter live stream so you can see exactly what's going on here. And I mean,
Unfortunately, I was over
people are
here.
watching. Well, I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me.
So I've made the jump. I've made the jump, right? And so I've got a couple slides, but let's just keep it at a high level real quickly. I believe that the market moves in waves. I think that's pretty obvious, right? That's not a stretch, right? So if the market moves in waves, something needed to start that wave in motion. I think that's pretty reasonable, right?
Yeah.
What starts that market in motion could be the IPO. It could be the initial impulse move off of a low or a high.
I know the metaphor you're talking about.
Right.
Okay,
all that stuff, right? But ultimately, if the market moves in waves, which I think we can agree that it does, and it moves in a way that it grows and retraces and it grows and it retraces, then inherently across all of natural law is the ratios that are defined by the Fibonacci sequence, specifically 0.618 and 1.618. The problem is everyone's taught, oh, I use Fibonacci. I just pull out a retracement grid, do a 0.618 retracement from the high and the low, and then I get run over. Oh, it doesn't work, right? And then the next day they show up and they draw the retracement grid and it works. And they're like, okay, now I've got this confusion, this seed of doubt. And so what I want to say is the Fibonacci works, but it's only a subset of ultimately what's really going on, right? The 0.618s, the 1.618, those are truly Fibonacci numbers. Those are derived from the Fibonacci sequence. But people throw out a 0.786. Where is that in the Fibonacci sequence, right? It's not a Fibonacci number. Now, it's derived from a Fibonacci number. The 1.618, the square root's 1.27, 1 over 1.27 is 0.786. That's where that number comes from, right? Other times we'll see the market pivot at 0.886, right? What's going on there? Well, that's just 0.618 cubed, right? So it's derived from those numbers, but it's not that actual number,
and so
right?
what you're saying is that as the market moves, whatever that event that starts those waves, those are essentially ripples. And they could potentially, those ripples can get to those levels. How I use them is that when the market ignores those levels, it's not that it didn't work, is that that's information, right? Like if we just rip right through that retracement, like there's a good reason for that. And what you often see is you'll see like a gap down below a key, retracement, or a gap up, really showing just how fast it was able to absorb and acknowledge that level to the point where it did, and it jumped over it. There's nothing that's more, great information that trend is strong than something like that.
Absolutely, right? And it allows you to precisely manage risk, right? People always ask us, we've had this conversation, how many times are you right? And I say 100% of the time. You can't be right. I'm like, I'm right 100% of the time because I know exactly where I'm wrong. Coming up with these forward leading indicators.
100% of the time.
That's right.
You have a plan, you stick to that plan.
Bingo.
Just because you lost money doesn't mean you were wrong. That's
right. I traded the pattern. Right. And so what happens is, and I said the pattern word, right? Fibonacci is, I think, a subset of sacred geometry, right? And so what we're really trying to do when we have all these different ratios is we're trying to put a pattern together. Sometimes that pattern will complete on a Fibonacci number. Other times it won't. That's okay, right? So let's say we've got a weekly chart out of natural gas, which I'm long, by the way, right? Well, if we look at a monthly chart over a 30-year period, we notice that there's always a bullish divergence before the buy. So if it comes down and we're in, maybe a minor correction or a big correction.
Divergence like in momentum?
That's right, right?
So in other words, prices are making new lows, momentum's putting in higher lows.
Yes, thank you. Sorry,
I probably should have said. Momentum?
RSI 14 periods, right? Just make it simple.
In this case, you're looking at a daily?
Yeah, daily, right? And it's coming down to a
14-day
0.618.
RSI total.
Yeah, it's coming down to a 0.618 retracement grid that I've drawn, but bullish divergence
We
isn't
have the
present.
chart. Did you bring the chart with you?
No, I didn't bring the chart. I'm just throwing it out there, right?
Okay.
So in this case, historically, the market's always needed or wanted or respected bullish divergence in this case. And I'm just making up natural gas, right? So I might not take the. I love
figured
it,
I'm gonna
dude.
need some booze for my conversation with Bart today.
No, man, it's all
A
good,
lot of math
right?
from JC.
So
looks at pictures all day. So the math is the fact that you can just memorize all these square roots of
I use them.
Fibonacci numbers is like
I use them all the time, right? So where I'm going with it is, in this case, I would fully expect my 0.618 retracement grid to get run over because bullish divergence isn't present. So that doesn't mean that Fibonacci doesn't work. You have to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. But you have a forward indicator, you have a level before that you're really going to watch price action around that. That's the power of this stuff, right? But 0.618 gets run over, and all of a sudden it stops at 0.707.
Yeah.
Well, that's 2. Square root of 2, 1.4142.
Okay, so,
I
understand. Okay, so I get the numbers. I get the execution, right? We do that part every day. But scientifically, mathematically, tell me what's going on. Is it not vibrations of these triples?
Yes. Yes. And so if you look at our title slide, that's what everybody expects when you start thinking of Fibonacci.
So hold on. So for the podcast, what are we looking at? We're looking at a big square, and we're looking at a bunch of like snails and
and that is growth in natural law, all dependent upon the Fibonacci sequence.
And isn't this the rotation of the Earth that creates these?
Yes. Right? Yes. And quite frankly, when you put like a Mercury and a Venus together, their harmony is their harmonic synodic periods are 0.618, right? I mean,
hold on. So then these snails basically stay still, and then because the Earth is rotating, that's why they get these lines over time.
And yes, and because that's how everything grows, and that's how everything retraces.
Oh, right? I see what you mean. Got it. So unraveling, essentially.
That's right. So it's natural law. It's natural law. So as you go and you start off of a low, and let's say and you just start moving, right? You're basically doing natural law. Right, you're growing and retracing based upon natural law principles.
And then also in terms of like beauty, like I talk to like video guys and stuff like that, and like your eyes are supposed to be 61.8% of the way up on the screen. Like when
they are,
video.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, and it is crazy.
In fact, I know that number.
In fact, I brought this book for all those people out there. It's called Philomath. And it's quite frankly, JC, it's probably one of the most amazing books I've read by Robert Grant. And
what does your wife say when you tell her that you're going to go on a live stream on Twitter and talk about math? Does she think you're crazy?
Yeah, brevity and simple. She actually said that to me. We were surfing this morning. I go, hey, I'm going to go down to JC's studio. She's like, brevity and simple. So I'm trying. But what you were saying about, your eyes, the bottom line is our eyes are capturing images. And these images are all created with sacred geometry and, quite frankly, the ratios that are derived from the Fibonacci sequence. And so that's why when I first started out, I had 18 moving averages, and Bollinger Bands, and 8, volume, RSI, MACDs, and everything. I couldn't tell my head from a hole in the wall, right? When I took it all off, all of a sudden you train your eyes and you can start to see the natural harmony and beauty. So, this next slide is what we're going to talk about. Our organs of perception in the entire world, they're all understood by geometry, form, and proportion, right?
Okay, so hold on. For the podcast, let's talk about what we got. A picture. Yeah. Is this Jesus Christ? It kind of looks like him.
Yes. And he's got the proportional divider, right? You got the circle.
And what is it that he's holding?
That's called the proportional divider. I use it all the time, right? And so what happens is that proportion. It's the proportional divider that you can use on your charts to do retracements and everything.
Compass sort of looking thing.
That's right. That's right. Right.
Okay. So it's Jesus Christ with a compass.
And so anywhere you're looking, your mind is taking in these patterns and converting them numerically. Mm-hmm. All right. And so in the market, what's that?
It wasn't you. It wasn't you who painted these.
It's some, I don't know, probably 15th century great artist. I should know, but I don't know. It probably says underneath it.
Got it. Okay, so famous artist. Got it.
But
the proportions that he used is your point.
All the great Renaissance artists used it. All of them used it, right? So
And you can see it in the architecture too, all the Roman architecture and Greek architecture, you see it all in there, right? So even the architects are all using these numbers. And why were they using the numbers? Because of the beauty aspect of it, or because it makes sense architecturally? Because I'm not an engineering, I don't know anything
because of the beauty aspect of it, and because it's beauty, it will make sense architecturally.
Got it.
Right? Like I'm looking at the camera right now and I'm seeing the ratios.
So I'm still not understanding why it is that it works. I'm still not like.
Yep, that's fine.
So
and that's it's natural law. We've established that the market moves up and down, right? And we also have established in nature that things that grow and retrace, or grow and retract and everything like that, those ratios are present in nature. They're also going to be present in the stock market. They're going to be present in anything that captures the human emotion, right? And so that's the key, right? Is that this, if you can say that the market moves in waves, then it's not a far stretch for us to say that then it's based on music, it's based on geometry, and it's based on proportion and vibrations. All that points to sacred geometry and, more importantly, music. And so the slide we can look at right now, all I'm saying is the body vibrates. All of your major organs in your body vibrate. They put off energy, right? And all of those vibrations and all of those energies are governed by the ratios that we talk about. So sound and patterns and waves, amplitude, interval, and frequency, we're talking about music. So in the end, when you start looking at it, music is what's governing it, okay? So 1.618, if you look here, the square root, right, directly proportional to the square root of its tension, a string, right? It's also 1 over the square root, 1 over the square root of its length. So that string, right? When you pluck that string, it's like dropping that rock in the water. It's like the IPO of Tesla, right? At that moment, that thing,
drop the rock in the water, and then you get the trickle on the little waves, right?
Yes.
And then the IPO of Tesla is that dropping of the rock.
Bingo.
And now what you're also saying is that in the music, the string and a guitar.
Yeah, the same thing, right? Same thing. And when you strum that guitar, and that's what that top string is, right?
And what about the human body? You're talking about the average body organ frequencies? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I'm just saying that everything's vibration.
Right. So then these are like the pancreas is 60 to 80 megahertz.
That's right.
The thyroid, and I don't know what half these things are. Like,
it's just showing that you are vibration. Everything is vibration. And if everything is vibration, then it's going to be governed by square roots and 1 over the square roots.
But megahertz, excuse my ignorance, but megahertz are the unit to be able to describe what? What is a megahertz?
The frequency of that specific body organ. That's all. The only reason.
So what else can you use the unit of megahertz in? Like music? Is it megahertz? No.
Anything electrical.
Like what's a
megahertz? Hertz.
A unit of electricity. It's a unit of power.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. No. You're asking good questions.
Dude, I'm not in this world.
Yes, you are. You're getting closer and closer.
Like in Back to the Future. What the hell is a gigawatt?
I got you in, baby. So
what is a gigawatt?
So think about it, right? You pluck that string and you send off the waves that you hear, right? And your hearing converts them into harmony, right? If it's dissonant, if it's maybe Black Sabbath, it might be dissonant. That was for Giancarlo, by the way. We were listening to Black Sabbath before anyway.
So we're looking, hold on. So we're looking at a slide right now. It's got Pythagoras, and Pythagoras looks like he's playing some sort of musical device with strings. Is that what's going on?
That's right. And he is technically the first.
How old is this Pythagoras fellow?
Thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And he is the first one.
Is this like a guy from the Renaissance, or is this guy from like
Pythagoras? Pythagorean theorem: a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
So that guy. I hate it when they spell it differently because it gets.
I know. I do too. And someone gave me a hard time.
All these guys,
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? Like,
that's right. Why can't they be JC and Bart? So
like
anyway,
wine. Like I can never spell it right.
So Pythagoras was the first one to understand that different points of where you pluck the string, depending upon the length of how you're striking it.
He played like the guitar.
Well, he found musical harmony, and he found it through the Fibonacci sequence.
All right, so we're showing the guy, Pythagoras, right? And then what's that thing on the top with all those lines?
That's actually a guitar string at the moment that it's hit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
But
pretty
the
cool.
key here is that's also the market. So you see where the strings intersect?
Yeah.
That's where we want to trade.
Okay.
All right.
So then, okay. So now in chaos, there is form, balance, and proportion.
That's
I love
right.
these. You send me these videos, and what we should do is we should put it in the show notes. Like we'll put
We
it below. We'll put it in
should.
the YouTube show notes, and we'll put it in the podcast show notes, and we'll also put it on the Twitter live stream, on the tweet right below. I'll tweet at it. And then what these are, like Bart plays like he like someone's playing the piano or something. They're playing music, and like the sand that's on, like it vibrates, and it
Yes.
makes all these Fibonacci. It's fascinating.
It's really incredible, right? So this is a vibrating plate, and the person randomly throws a bunch of, salt in this case onto the plate, and then they start tuning up, or turning up the frequency. And as the frequency gets higher and higher and higher, it develops these incredible patterns based on sacred geometry. What is the market? Well, everyone says the market's chaos. I tend to agree. But if we take our time in that chaos, there's balance, form, and proportion. That, oh, by the way, Fibonacci plays a role. And then this concept of sacred geometry, which we'll get here to in a second, right? But ultimately, when you first open up a chart of GE, I'm just throwing it, right? You look at it and you're like, this is crazy. But if you step back and start looking at it from the perspective of geometry, form, and proportion, if you understand these ratios, you can start putting together that actually this is a perfect form. And so then when you get to that point, now you can understand, okay, I'm going to wait. And when this pattern is complete, that's when I'll enter. I might be right, I might be wrong, right? But I've waited from a pattern perspective. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Okay, so now let's talk about the ratio. So here we're looking at, you got a whole bunch of numbers. It is very scary. There's so many numbers. There's exponents on some of these numbers. Like there's a lot going on. You got decimal points with multiple zeros before the numbers. Like this is tough. And then on the right, you got a bunch of circles and squares and lines connecting them, just for the podcast so that they can understand what we're saying. One of them says musical equal octave scale, and the other one says sacred geometry, the one with all the shapes.
That's right. So the first one, let's spend the time on the right one.
On the
sacred
one on the
geometry. Right. Sacred geometry.
Okay.
The bottom line is all we really need to understand, your readers need to understand, your listeners, is the numbers 1 through 5. Oh, by the way, we have 5 fingers and toes. Anyway, right? The numbers 1 through 5.
You're saying that's not a coincidence that we have 5 fingers and that these circles intersect. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have the numbers 1 through 5. We have the square root of those numbers, right?
Okay.
Square root of 2, 1.4142, right? Square root of 5, 2.236, square root of 3, 1.732. So like right now, we're all watching the extensions that occurred from the move that happened in 2020, right? So normally people put up
that 2020 COVID crash.
35%, yeah.
That was the IPO moment. That was the rock falling in the lake, right? That was
correct.
That first, and then there's ripples from there.
That's right. Right. And we've blown through that high. We've blown,
that makes sense.
But now we're extending off it. So typically someone will do
in the cases where they're showing relative strength, in some cases they're still below, right?
That's right. That's right. But so most people just do 1.618. I'll do 1.732, 1.27, 1.4142.
Too many lines, Bart?
No. Because what we're trying to wait for is for the pattern to complete. It might complete on the 1.618 extension.
So you're not gonna. I know, but aren't you setting your targets based on those levels? So aren't you predetermining where you're getting out? Let's say if you're already long.
Yes, based on projections.
For new entry points, in other words.
New entry points, exits, yeah. But so what I'm trying to say is Fibonacci 1.618 extension, yes, very important all day long. However, there's numbers in and around there that the market might slip to. So you try to go short or long on a 1.618 extension, and it goes down to 1.68179. What? Well, take a look at major sixth on the left.
And then what is major 6 for us that are not music people?
Equal octave scale of music, right? 12th root of 2. Every point in that equal octave scale of music gets increased by 1.05946. That's a 12th root of 2, right? So you want to be aware.
And this is measuring the frequency.
That's right.
And that
so
is
you want
for ignorant folks, that's like the pitch is higher or deeper.
Correct. That's it.
Okay.
So all those,
right.
everything to the right, everything to the right of those red lines, don't even pay attention to.
Okay.
And all those 2 to the 0, 2 to the 1, all that, don't pay attention to. But the 1, 1.09, 1.4983, 1 all those numbers, you might want to throw those into your bag of tricks.
For those listening out there, there's a lot of numbers on the screen. Go check out the YouTube video so you can see how crazy this maniac is.
Yeah. So, but the bottom line is, why does it work? You have to believe that the market moves in waves. And if it does move in waves, that it's going to be governed by natural law. And 1.618 and 0.618 are 2 of the most important ratios that exist in our natural universe. But they're not all of them, right? And so as you go down the path of using these leading...
What's in between 1618, and 2618?
1.68179, 1.732, 1.78179, 1.8877, 1.4983. But here's the thing, JC, you're putting together the pattern, right?
I'm not putting anything together.
Well, you will.
I let the market do its thing, and
well, we're almost done. One last thing, JC. So here we go. I wanted to give this to your readers because it's 12% away. 40,000.
Are we looking at a chart? We don't have a chart.
We should have Dow Jones monthly musical projections. Is it on there? I'm sharing it. Oh, well, maybe we can share it.
Maybe if you're sharing it, I trust you. All right, if you got it, okay, cool.
So
right, let's see
it. Is it showing?
I don't think so.
Oh, bummer, man. Is it?
I see it.
Well, we see it. Anyway, JC, I want to leave the readers with this.
Dow Jones Industrial Average.
Yep. 40,655 is my big target.
40,655.
Yeah. 12% or so.
When?
I don't know yet. I have some ideas, but I don't really want to talk about them because I'm not sure.
Right now, 35,500, and it is August the 13th, Friday the 13th. Yeah. 35.5, and you think it's going to 41?
Well, I don't have a clue where it's going, but I think 46.55 is a good target. How did I get there?
55. How did you get there?
Has nothing to do with Fibonacci.
All right. Well, this is a conversation about Fibonacci. So,
well, I know, but I also want to show that it's not just about Fibonacci. There's other things we need to take.
Are you cheating on me with Fibonacci?
No. So the all-time low on the Dow was 28.48 back in like 1886, right?
What was it?
$28.48.
I can't see it with these arithmetic scale charts of yours. It hurts my eyes. So,
trust me. So
what year?
1886 or something. It's
okay. So
1896.
1886.
1896. And oh wow, August 8th. Kind of cool. So you take the log of that number, 2848. Okay. And I think it's like 3.43, whatever. And then what I do is I project.
What is a log? When you say you take
logarithms, right? Kepler came up with it because he had all these long distances. He's just trying to figure out, all the orbits and everything.
Mathematician?
Yeah. Astronomer, mathematician, artist. And what happened, JC, is they created logarithms to take advantage of these monstrous numbers. So, we're talking about
calculator. You see log. Is that what that is?
Yes.
Got it. I was wondering.
So anyway, 2848. And then what I did was I just added the equal octave scale of music ratios that you just saw, right? And the first one I did, musical note E, it exactly hit the 1987 high.
Okay.
That's what I'm showing, right?
So then what's next? F?
So then I went, well, obviously musical note E is probably important. So I just moved the decimal point, added it to the log of 2848. Yes, because we don't care about decimal
points.
Hey, not to tease the audience, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh wow! You're just moving decimal points.
So almost done.
Half hour worth of
Fibonacci. So JC,
to come in.
So JC, it hit the 2007 high exactly.
Okay, so which one is F? F hit the 2007 high?
The next musical note, just moving the decimal point on that ratio. So I said, I'm going to move it one more time.
Why the hell
40,
not?
40,655. Watch that number. That's all I can say. Now, when, we'll find out. But did this help? Or no? Did I confuse people more?
I'd say it didn't hurt.
It didn't help.
I think it's good that you reiterate the vibrations, especially like the rock in like a calm lake. That makes perfect sense to me. Like the ripple effects in the market. And then when you talk about the Tesla IPO or whatever, and there are ripple effects from there, I totally get that aspect. Totally.
So it's got to be governed by something.
When there's too many numbers, I get very confused and it's just not for me. So I like to keep things simple. I'm still interested. We got to do a part deux of this, and I want to continue
for sure.
and sort of I want to build upon the vibrations aspect of it, right? And for me, less so on like all these numbers, but more so the vibration. I want to understand the science because it's in our DNA, right? We see it in weather patterns. We see it in nature all over the place. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Kivelstadt up in Sonoma. I'm drinking a Sonoma Valley Sauvignon Blanc, and shout out Jordan Kivelstadt. When you are in Sonoma, go check it out. They have a new tasting room that I haven't been to, but I hear it's beautiful.
JC, it's always so much fun, dude. We'll get into it more. I mean, we had a half an hour to why Fibonacci works in the market. It runs our universe. So hopefully we at least scratch the surface.
I think so. I think it's a good start, and we'll build upon that. And some people are going to be like, oh my God, this guy with Bartoloni with his 1896 Dow charts. Get the hell out of here.
I'm used to it.
Those people, and for those people, then do you go around kicking dogs too on the side of the street? I mean, come on. Listen, we use this stuff every day. I've already gotten past the part where like I'm good. I don't need to know.
Yep.
But I get asked all the time, so I was like, all right, you know what? Let's go dig in a little bit. And then when people ask me, I could just send them this video, right? I'm like, yo, Bartoloni,
absolutely.
Fibonacci work. Let's go talk about it on Twitter. And you're like, oh, okay,
nice.
Yeah, let me go surfing first. Bartoloni over there living the dream. How was surfing today? Was it good? How many waves did you catch?
Well, JC, yesterday I got
catching waves, or is there like another term?
Yeah. Yesterday I caught 28, and today I only caught 5. There was no lie. There was a monster shore break. My poor wife got hit in the head. She's got a big shiner. It was ugly this morning. Yeah, saw 3 sharks, so not a lot. They're about 8 feet. I just talked to them. I go, sharks, man, let's all just chill out, man. We just want to surf, And they kind of go, okay, dude, just don't be mean to me. I'm like, all right.
Hold on, are there real sharks where you're surfing?
Yeah, baby great whites all over the place.
Stop it. Baby great whites? And you're not scared they're going to bite you?
Well, no, because I put off good energy, man. They don't want to eat me.
Stop it.
It's all vibrations. I throw a little Fibonacci towards great white. We're good.
Get out of here.
And this guy,
baby sharks?
JC.
Hell no.
JC, this guy, Bigfoot. He's a Fibonacci lover.
Bartoloni, you're crazy. Listen, anybody out there, when you're in San Diego, go buy Bartoloni a couple beers, and he'll talk to you about
all night long
about math. He'll talk to you. Remember when you and we had lunch with Morgan, my wife? Morgan's like, I don't know what that guy was talking about.
Well, we're trying. It's all good. Dude, thank you so much. I know. I can't wait till the next time.
We'll do it soon.
Peace.
We're on the beach next week.
Have a great weekend, JC. All right, brother. Be good.